What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Monster Hunter video. Today we're going to be reacting to a video that my brother told me about. Now, if you guys do not follow Maximilian Dude, please sub to his channel, okay? Hit the sub button. I was already subbed, but I unsubbed just so I can show you guys that I subbed. So this man is a phenomenal person. He makes great content. I've been following this guy for a very long time. Now, with that being said, like I just said, I was told by my brother to watch this video. I just want to react to everything that he's saying. It's about Monster Hunter Wilds, the impressions from the demo that Max saw. Now, I did skip the beginning just because I don't know if his music in the beginning is copyrighted. So, let's get into the video.
What's up, dudes? Max here, back from Summer Games Fest and some impressions of games at the show. And today's a pretty important one because...
And we will be stopping and yapping sometimes, just so you know.
Because it is revolving around an approximate 15 to 30 minute gameplay demonstration that we saw with our own eyes of Monster Hunter Wilds. And I'm not going to beat around the bush. This game was effing amazing. Let's get started because this was effectively my game of the show.
So before we get too deep in all of this, I personally think Monster Hunter is going to have a solid running at Game of the Year. The game's just been improving. There's been more people who have been following it. And I think Wilds is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Obviously, we do have Grand Theft Auto coming out next year, and that will probably run as well. So we'll see what happens.
I'm trying to think of how I describe this because, again, this was an actual in-game demonstration from Capcom. There were like build issues sometimes with it, which means it's active and not actual, you know, BS. And they effectively took us through a hunt of one of the most basic monsters, essentially the big cover art monster. I think it's the Doshuguma.
Yep, the big furry thing.
From a perspective of the trailers that we had before, I was kind of expecting something, and this was not it. And what we see in the trailers does look really cool and exciting, and as they're pitching it to us, it does sound neat.
It does.
To me, the trailers seem like kind of a bit of smoke and mirrors, and like, oh, I think this is CG, I think this isn't. So I wasn't expecting that level of polish when it came to the game itself, and believe it or not, the game itself had that level of polish, and I was kind of mind blown as a result.
So you're telling me that the demo that you guys saw actually looked this good and is cinematic as they are showing us? That's just crazy. That's just insane. We still have a full year, or at least 6 months of development development improvement. So you're telling me that it already looks phenomenal?
My apologies if I'm using trailer footage and screenshots to go through during this because we did not get any like B-roll of gameplay stuff. This was just based on our impressions in describing this, so it might sound like...
Yeah, and I'm sure they couldn't get B-roll just because, like, you know, legally they can't show things that Capcom can't tell them to show.
A crazy person every once in a while. My apologies, but this is the best I have to work with. This game is 100% a sequel to Monster Hunter World. There is not much in commonality with a game like Monster Hunter Rise, which came after World, except for the fact that you do have a mount, right? And obviously, you know, the Sacred, which is the
And I mean, I think the mount is absolutely game-changing. It's absolutely game-changing. I mean, if we were playing in a realm where we're talking about the ancient forest in Monster Hunter World, if we had a mount, that would make everything so much easier.
Bird raptor-like mount that you have is pretty similar to the dogs that were obviously in Monster Hunter Rise.
Yep.
So I think from my perspective, just to like break down my emotions and feelings of this play session, I'm just going to go through what I remember them doing and sort of just give you a heads up on little moments in between of this 15-minute presentation. I did watch it twice. Again, I went in for a second time to see how different it was, and it was substantially different on a second viewing, and a lot of different stuff happened, so it is a very dynamic world. You start off in like the hub, and immediately, like, a lot of the flourishes from Monster Hunter World are all over the place. Game's just got a really distinct visual art style. The smithy girl is there. Everyone's there, and then you go out on a hunt. You effectively pull up the map and just look at the extremely detailed map that pulls up, and you see all the flora and fauna and things just running around. The amount of detail and information is just nuts when this thing happens, and you select.
Now, when he says that, I'm just like visualizing a map with just different monsters just like moving around. That could just be my brain saying that, but that's just what I visualize. And if that is true, that's kind of cool.
The Doshiguma and like the herd that it's in, and it immediately pulls up not a quest list like you go to a board. You just sort of see quests that are available, and you just selects it, and it's just like you begin the quest. So
that's quite interesting. So I wonder if the information board is still a thing, because every Monster Hunter that I played in, there was always a board that you go to select your mission. And he just said you look at the map and then you go right into the hunt. That is very, very interesting. I wonder if that was maybe like a specific thing that happened, like it was a part of a quest line. Like, you know, in Worlds, when you go on expeditions, sometimes you are supposed to just walk around and then a monster pops out and then boom, it's like, okay, now you're hunting this monster. I wonder if it was like that. Like maybe they finished a hunt and then they went back and then you kind of selected the next part of it. I don't know.
You call the secret and you leave. The old school tried and true way of Monster Hunter of like your hub world and then you select your quest, you load, you enter that zone is not here anymore. It's just all seamless now. So you just jump on the back of your secret and you go. Your Palico follows you. Your handler also follows you and you start making your way out. In this process, we see the hunter collecting things, using the slinger to actually grab bugs and stuff really far away. You just point the camera
Holy
at
shit.
that bug.
That's really cool.
Circle, and the hunter will literally yoink it off the wall.
So that's really cool. I feel like they've been making like a lot of quality of life changes every time they release another Monster Hunter game. And I think that's cool. I mean, you don't have to just run around and press circle to pick up your items. If you can zip them from far away, it makes collecting items just so much easier. I like that, man. I really do.
With like a grappling hook, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. So you can sort of use the slinger to do stuff like that. They did explain that the map size in comparison to something like Monster Hunter World is significantly bigger. I think they use the term 2 to 3 times the size of a Monster Hunter World area, like the Ancient Forest, for example.
So you're telling me that the map is 2 to 3 times bigger than the Ancient Forest map. Do you understand how many times I got lost and how many of us in general just got lost? Now, I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I think it's cool because, you know, if you make this game where there's this whole ecosystem where everything is alive and everything is doing something and everything is active, it only makes sense that you make it bigger so you can see more things. But that's a lot of fucking map to cover.
So there's a lot of verticality to this. They showed like 3 levels of verticality to each zone, but yeah, significantly vaster. And when you get out there, when you first like see the size of it, you're like, whoa, okay, you get this big vista of the area as the hunter leaves like the base camp and starts moving out there. There's also several different areas you can choose to like circumvent that distance, where there's another part where they leave the camp and the sacred climbs across all these mountains. You see this stuff sort of like the trailer, and can sort of scale all this shit and then do a glide. The actual monster can glide across a big plain field, which is cool.
And so that's something that they probably took away from Monster Hunter Rise, because on Rise you could literally go anywhere on the map. You can go as high as you could, you can go in the depths or whatever, that other parts that had areas like that. But that's really cool. And to add the fact that your bird can fly or glide, that's really cool. I mean, that's gonna make a big difference in just getting across the map, especially if it's 2 to 3 times bigger.
Cool. It means like you just have more cool looking traversal options. Now, before going out on a hunt, there's a really specific icon like location, like a glowy part of the map, which signifies that you can create a base camp. And instead of there being an inherent base camp like there is in all the other Monster Hunter games.
So you can create your base camp. I wonder if they took that from, God, what's the game? Wild Hearts. Because in Wild Hearts, you can place your camps wherever you wanted. That's cool. And earlier, this is what we were talking about the slinger being used to grab something. So they use the slinger to grab the rocks. They use this rocks to hit another rock to land on this guy's head.
There's ones that you can make across the map, apparently. And, you know, you can kind of pop it in, and then palicos show up out of nowhere, and they just craft this thing out of like, literally nothing.
That's cool.
And suddenly you have, like, a functioning base camp, just like classic, you know, Monster Hunter World. But
That's
it
tight.
seemed like these are acting as, like, checkpoints and, like, fast travel points for the entire map. So as soon as you see these, you want to put up a base camp. However, they can be...
Hold on, before he goes into this.
Want to put up a base camp. However...
that sounds like Wild Hearts. In Wild Hearts, I don't know if you guys have played it. If you played Monster Hunter, you probably at least tried Wild Hearts. But you had bases, and wherever you put your bases, you could fast travel to them. So they had them in like important parts where, you know, maybe some monsters were in the south, or some monsters in the north, or the right, or left, or whatever. So you would create a base camp, and then you would just fast travel there. So it seems like they probably got that from there.
They can be destroyed. They even tried to show us later on that these are destructible. So there's some cool stuff that happens there that, like, hey, your base camps have to be maintained, you know, every once in a while, and you have to go out and make sure some of them are still there, because monsters will, you know, actually beat them up.
That's pretty cool. I wonder if, like, since I understand that there's like a live world or whatever, I wonder if the base camps you put down can be tromped over by guys like this. Like, let's say you put a base camp here, but you're not here. You're off the map or whatever. But I understand that the map and all the maps are just like alive, and things are probably happening all the time. And I wonder if that's what that is.
Our hunter has pinned the hunt. They go out on the hunt. Everything is seamless. There is no loading. The animations of the hunter on the back of the sacred, like moving around, are absolutely insane. The level of polish of just like the movement and mobility of the hunter on top of like the mount is just ridiculous.
I mean, they did very well in the trailer.
So polished and so good. And then, yeah, you come across the monster. And one thing I do want to start talking about is different interactive elements with creatures. I'm just trying to kind of cover them all in my head. Mounting is back from Monster Hunter World.
Sweet.
You mount, and then you eventually do minor damage to the monster until you get a big topple attack.
Yep,
there is
I like that.
Crazy topple attack animations for every single weapon.
Whoa, for every single weapon? It's okay. That's exciting.
Now sneak attacks, where you sneak up on a monster, and then you press like circle at a certain period of time if they're unaware of your position, and you get a big surprise like sneak attack, large amount of damage right at the start. They also show
that's crazy. Sneak attack damage? So kind of like a God, what's Dragon's Dogma, right? Where you're sneaking. I wonder if it gives you like a cool ass animation too. Because he said you press circle. That's a very specific button to press, right? So I know in games like God of War, you're pressing circle and you're doing some special animation. Maybe it's like Dragon's Dogma, where you press circle and you do some cool sneak attack. But I know that'll be good for like the Great Sword, the Charge Blade. Oh my God, it would be phenomenal.
A ghillie mantle when you sneak up on a monster.
Ooh,
so
mantle?
I'm assuming that means mantles are back. You know, it would make a lot of sense. They weren't there in Rise. So I'm
yeah,
not super thrilled about that, but you know, still. And
wow, I'm very surprised at how many people don't like mantles. I actually do like them. I think they're just kind of a fun element in the game. They are ugly. Like I wish they were like smaller, or I don't know, something you put on your fucking wrist or something. Not this big ass piece of cloth that you kind of throw on you. I don't like how they look, but I do like the utility of what they provide.
Other things that we have seen are other ways to engage with monsters. You can jump off the sacred to potentially get that mantle attack, the mounting attack.
Yep.
And there's also now clash attacks, where depending on the weapon you have, we saw them in this demo, the 2 different demos I saw with greatsword as well as,
that's right.
a heavy bowgun.
That's right.
The monster will clash with you every once in a while. And this is that animation you see in the trailer of like holding the sword in the mouth of the monster and striking back. There was another one we saw of you cramming the heavy bowgun in the monster's mouth as it's attacking you, which is like a clash attack.
And you take a shot.
You, like, fire a huge shot. The same thing happens with the heavy
my God.
And you like slap them away. So there's new kind of like cinematic.
Oh my God. I wonder if the Switch X, you maybe hold the thing in its mouth and then you get the explosion. And same thing with the charge blade. Oh, I guess it has a shield. Maybe you hit it with the shield and then you combine them and get an explosion. I don't know. This game is so fucking exciting, man.
Can do with monsters. But anyway, Hunter engages the monster. There's a pack of, you know, these smaller versions of them. There's like the alpha one and smaller. I think it's Doshagumas is the name. My apologies.
And so we did see the baby Puke, right? So I'm assuming that's something to do with that.
There's a lot of stuff in here that, you know, is new. I don't think that we saw any monsters or like herbivores or anything in the world that resembled stuff that I remember from Monster Hunter Rise or World. So they might be from older games, but everything was like brand new. The whole point is that they want to separate the main monster from the pack, and they start introducing to us field traps in the world, things like vine traps that you can knock off trees, things like
that's cool.
These like spiky bushes that do minor damage and slow down the
That's
monsters.
cool. I mean, we had a lot of that in Worlds, where, you know, you can trap Diablos in the sand, or you can trap God, what's his name? Safi Jiva, on like the backside of the map with the vines. So I mean, that's something that we've seen before, but I think it's cool to have in the game.
We're trying to separate the alpha from the herd because fighting them as a herd is kind of a huge pain in the neck. And as we do so, we start going over sand dunes and running away. And the music, dude, there's like pursuit music. There's like general world music, which is a very
awesome.
like calming theme. And then there's like, you know, beginning the hunt.
I just realized this in this video. He just dodged.
Music, there's like
they dodged with the bird.
General world
right here,
music,
look.
which is a very,
they dodged.
Like, calming theme.
What? It's crazy.
And then there's like, you know, beginning the hunt sort of music as you get close to monsters.
I like it.
And then there's like engaged. You begin the hunt and start fighting, and like the music like kicks in. It's all dynamic and changing.
I like it.
And as soon as the hunter runs away, it turns into like pursuit music. Like you're either chasing or being chased by monsters. It felt all very different.
I like it. I like it. I like it.
The fight was happening. And it was very cinematic and like action-packed, huge horns, and I'm probably gonna sound crazy describing it, but just trust me, it sounded ridiculously cool from an audio sort of experience.
I like it.
So they're like running away, and then they get to a part of the map that has a sand dune that looks like different than the rest, and the hunter tries to get the other monsters around it, and suddenly it's one of the other monsters we saw from the latest trailer, like these big sandworm, rockworm things.
They're disgusting.
And it pops up and starts snatching one of the smaller Doshaguma out of there, and they all go into like a whirlwind sort of trap.
That's so cool.
That is below the sand. The sand starts like sucking them up, and they're getting like potentially sent to a lower area of the map or something like that. But
this is absolutely going to change the game in hunting. Normally it's you versus the monster with some environmental stuff, but now it seems like the environment is going to play a major role during your playthrough. Man, holy crap.
Alpha holds on because it's bigger and stronger, and all the other guys get sucked up and drop down, but the alpha climbs out and starts pursuing you. So naturally you begin fighting the alpha and engaging it with it a variety of ways. We learn about focus mode, and focus mode is literally just a targeting reticle without needing like, you know, a heavy bowgun or a bow and arrow.
I like that.
It allows you to specifically focus on the monster and target on weak spots.
Specific.
And technically
that's good. That's good. Because you can do that in Monster Hunter World. You can't do that in Rise. You can't laser focus on like the specific part you want to hit. And I think that's really nice that they're bringing that back.
Aim attacks, even with melee weapons. It's kind of hard to tell like how this works from a gameplay demonstration without actually utilizing it ourselves. But you know, it is there, and as you focus, it will show weak spots if the monster is currently like, you know, weakened in a certain area.
Holy crap!
If it's like damaged in some
That's
way,
awesome.
it'll be glowing when you go into focus mode.
I like that. So we're used to, you know, you're used to looking at the book, your hunter's notes, and then going to the specific monster and seeing what parts are weak to what and blah blah blah. But during this focus mode that he's talking about, where you're locked into whatever specific part, you can see it glowing instead of just having to go back and read the book. That's cool, man. That's really cool.
That's cool. That's very cool. It seemed like Greatsword had a much different kit before. You know, granted, the devs are going to show a wide variety of things you can do with these weapons, and Greatsword was doing a lot more stuff than just generally, you know, true Greatsword slash. Like, it was not just that all the time. There was a lot of like new cleaving animations and dragging animations.
I like it.
In the trailer, it looked very cool.
I like it.
And some massive like counter hit attack stuff where I was just like, whoa, that's new. It still felt very heavy. Still felt very like
slow and
grounded.
clunky.
Not the speedy sort of insanity that is Monster Hunter Rise. No, this game definitely feels like it is a sequel to Monster Hunter World in terms of the combat. And I had some gripes with the combat and the way it looked and sort of felt just from the trailers. It didn't seem like it was all there yet. No issues at all. In the actual gameplay demonstration, this gameplay demonstration, I swear, looked so much better than what was in the trailers, just with the HUD and everything.
Which is crazy, because the trailers are fucking
it was ridiculous.
Beautiful.
Like the amount of polish and the amount of, I'd say, budget at work here. This is easily Capcom's biggest game of all time.
I like it.
Without a doubt.
I like it. And I mean, and like I was saying before, Monster Hunter has been growing in popularity. There's been content creators that I enjoy watching who play different games that aren't Monster Hunter, and they're literally now playing Monster Hunter World or Monster Hunter Rise. They're just getting back into it. And or not getting back into it, but getting into it. And it's just cool to see Monster Hunter grow, because when I started at Monster Hunter Try, and it wasn't as popular as what it is now. I mean, it was still really cool. The community was really nice and all that, but it's just growing in status, and it's so cool to see it.
The next bit. Every zone that you're into has multiple like levels to it in terms of, I'd say, seasonal like ecology. And they start warning us that the townspeople around are warning the hunter that like, hey, there's a sandstorm's coming, and they're preparing for the sandstorm. So as you're fighting,
holy shit,
the aura of the entire area, which is this big sand dune, starts to change, and you look in the distance, and there's this massive wall of sand. Darkness
like
filling
this.
The area, getting closer and closer, and as you're fighting the Doshiguma, whoosh, it comes in and everything changes. It turns from like day to dark. There's lightning everywhere. There's new hazards.
That's
crazy. Like, everything suddenly changed. The environment is now a completely new place. The lighting is absolutely friggin' insane.
I mean, the lighting just in the trailer alone is just gorgeous. I like all of this stuff, man. It's just making me so excited for this damn game.
Itself is hitting and flashing and doing all this stuff. It can actually hit the monsters. You can see where it's happening. The zone is 10 times more dangerous now when this shit is going down.
That makes sense.
Ridiculously cool. And
I like it.
Like I said, you can check the map and it'll tell you like how much stuff has changed during this time frame. New collectibles, new things to look for. You're gonna want to like go on gathering missions and stuff like that when these things are happening. It's like kind of important. So anyway, this is where they can continue the fight. And as they continue the fight, other monsters start showing up, because this isn't just a small zone, it's a massive zone with like multiple monsters. Usually before, in Monster Hunter World, you would look on the map and see like 3 general big monsters at any given time. Now there's just like herds of Doshiguma everywhere.
That's crazy.
New sort of like hero giant dragon, not exactly Shigaru Magala from Monster Hunter Rise.
Yeah, the thunder one.
There's this new crazy lightning dragon monster that shows up, and what we're trying to do is lure our hunting prey to this lightning monster. So we bring it into its den, and like effectively like make it mad to the other one. And yeah, they get into a turf war, so turf wars are back.
Sweet.
But dude, this
We love
this
turf
new
wars.
crazy dragon thing that's in the trailer just lightning zaps everything, and it shoots these massive lightning attacks everywhere. It looks ridiculously cool. Some of the new monsters are kind of like crazy creepy looking and kind of gross. This thing looks like a very traditional Monster Hunter dragon type of thing, some badass looking dragon. Eventually we lead it away, try to get away from this thing, and in other playthroughs I saw, this dude just swooped in and kind of like was interrupting the hunt every once in a while, seemed to be attracted to,
like,
you know, what the hunter was doing every once in a while. So, you know, there was a lot of like different things happening per playthrough. I like it was going through. More importantly, as you are like hunting and doing all this crazy stuff, the entire perspective of the landscape changes again. The what's it called? The sandstorm moves away after like several minutes, and now it sort of like pushes out all the sand. The desert turns into a time of like bounty, or they called it like plentiful time, something of like, you know, now it's like practically spring, like we're going through seasons. I don't know if they're trying to like give us the impression that this hunt and the time we're taking on this hunt is taking like a long time, like years in terms of time frame, where just seasonal shifts are rapid in this world.
It's very, very interesting.
That we're sort of going through.
I wonder if it's kind of like Legend of Zelda, whenever they have the blood moon and everything's just like 10 times harder or 1,000 times more aggressive, or you fighting different monsters that you're not used to seeing. I wonder if they kind of take that or took that inspiration from that, because that's kind of cool. The whole season thing, that's, I don't know, man, that's cool.
Seasonal shifts when you're out here in these zones that are, you know, massive. We've only seen one of these sort of zones, but each zone, or at least this one, has 3 different times. And as the same.
So I wonder if you can like climb up here, like, is all of this like map that you have access to? Like, can you go this way and go through here and go all the way to the back and climb some of these mountains and glide on your bird? Can you do that with this one? Like, go to the top, look around, maybe glide this way.
Sand gets
this is wild.
Plants, you actually see greenery. You see like different regular herbivores and animals start showing up, or monsters start showing up in this part of the day. And then yeah, the hunter calls an SOS and, you know, shoots up an SOS. Even though we're not online, it calls in an SOS of 3 NPC hunters that show up all of a sudden and start assisting you. And then you follow the monster to its eventual cave, or I'm sorry, as it's damaged, it's going to go back home to some resting spot. And as you get there, the other hunters put bombs down, and you put a bomb down, but this time you can actually pick up bombs and roll them into the monsters, so you don't have to like do some crazy, you know, charge slash thing and blow yourself.
Hey, I'm using a charge blade, so it doesn't matter if I roll them down or I do the discharge. That shit doesn't matter to me.
Up. And then they lead the monster out, you know, we have.
But with that being said, that is cool. For weapons that don't have those kind of things, like maybe sword and shields or dual blades, something that doesn't have that big explosion to add to the explosion. I mean, that's cool.
Eventually take it down. They did show us some gameplay of some new weapons, so we got to see like the hammer and the insect glaive. And,
oh, damn. Okay.
Hammer had some new crazy attacks to it, you know, new mounting attacks. Insect glaive had some new crazy Cirque du Soleil bullshit that it was doing.
It's the best way to describe it.
But it looked fairly traditional. I didn't get a chance to analyze everything.
That's funny as hell.
And yeah, you take down the monster, and here's the crazy part about it. The monster goes down, the NPC hunters sort of peace out, and you can carve. And it's cool that you don't have to like walk through the monster anymore. You actually walk on top of the monster while carving. I don't know if carving location is going to mean anything, but yes, it's the same tradition.
So a couple things there. When you beat the monster, you literally have to climb on top of it to carve it, so you don't walk through the body anymore. That's cool. I mean, that's just a big attention to detail difference in the game. I mean, it didn't really bother me whenever I was playing World or Rise or whatever when you walk through the monster and carve it. But being able to climb on top of it is cool. And just like he said before, he's wondering if like location is a thing. Like, let's say you climb on top of it and you need a tail. Do you carve the tail, or do you just carve anywhere and you can potentially get a tail? That's got me thinking. I mean, it seems like they're paying a lot of attention to everything, so I wouldn't be surprised if that is an element in the game, and I think that'd be pretty cool.
Traditional Monster Hunter stuff, but the quest is the journey's not over. You finish the quest and you're still active, and it goes into like a quest completion sort of screen, but you're still actively moving around the environment. So it doesn't just
it doesn't
finish
take you
things
away
anymore. The traditional classic Monster Hunter way of like going out, finishing quests, completing quests, going back, this more works of like an expedition in.
Well, I wonder how that works, because usually whenever the hunt ends, you're given like special rewards. And I did hear him say the word expedition, and I guess expedition did that too. If you kill the monster, then you leave the expedition, then you get rewards. So I wonder how that's gonna work. Do you just leave somewhere and then you get the rewards?
Monster Hunter World, where now the way you engage with the environment is up to your choosing. So if you want to stay there and like, oh, it's the time of bountiful plenty, all these new things for gathering is going to be out there, you're probably going to want to go take advantage of that.
Yep.
It's up to you if you want to start a new quest in the field at that given time, or fast travel back to a camp or something like that. It's not going to limit you by like, oh, I'm decided to this and we're going to do this and go to the bulletin board, you know, and do all that kind of stuff, the quest board.
So it sounds pretty like open world in a way. And I was actually contemplating, if the game did do like an open world, how it would work. It kind of sounds like it's going towards that. That's kind of crazy. I'm at a loss for words. I'm not saying that's what they're going to do. It just seems like that's what it is.
So I don't know how there's going to be other modes. They did say it's going to be 4 hunters, you know, in this relative mode. I was like, man, the zone is so big. Like, how are we going to be teaming up with like 1632 people? They didn't mention anything like that. It seemed fairly traditional Monster Hunter once you're out there.
Okay. Mute this for a second. Oh, good Lord, man. The details of all this stuff are just crazy.
But my God, dude,
and he also did say game mode. So that makes me believe, like, is this the new version of like a siege hunt or a rampage, where it's like an attachment to the game? Like maybe you do your regular quests, your regular hunting, and then you have this opportunity to go out on a big expedition where you do these things as like a side project to the initial story in game. Or is this like how the entire game works?
Craziest part about this,
I guess we'll have to see
how good the performance was and how good it looked. The lighting, the transition of the environment, the friggin' monster animations, the hunter animations. There is so much new, insane stuff that it just looks crazy. It looks like a true sequel to Monster Hunter World. Visually, I was blown away. And also, the game has food porn. Yes. When you go and cook for yourself now, and you go out and like make your own meals in the field, you literally get a super splendorous animated cutscene of insanely high resolution meat,
like Dogma,
cheese, and like vegetables and stuff. And the hunter just like cuts into this delicious looking steak and close-ups of mouth and steak, and I'm like, God, and it's like, it's not
that's
like
awesome.
You know, Dragon's Dogma. No, this is all in-game rendered. Bro, the amount of like budget.
That's cool. So it's better than Dogma. I like that.
Display here. This is easily Capcom's biggest game of all time, and I
hope they win Game of the Year, man.
Mind blown I was. I could have gone from those first impressions, but I wanted to go back and watch it again, and a whole bunch of crazy different things happened even on a second playthrough. The game also just kind of had performance issues a couple times. It crashed a couple of times due to so many systems on systems, but to me that was sort of reassuring that this wasn't bullshit. This was an actual game.
They're actually working through it
and making and all these systems were functioning. It was nuts. So I know there's going to be more playable stuff in the near future, probably at Gamescom. I hope.
Yeah.
Be hands-on and footage available because you
I
sound
can't
sort of
wait.
crazy
I can't
talking
wait
about
to see
this,
more.
in my opinion. And from the perspective that I have of Monster Hunter World still being an incredibly good-looking game, but on an old engine with old hardware, this shit felt next generation AF. And on top of all that good news, you know, we got crossplay. Don't even know if we have cross-save,
which is huge.
It's going to be on PC day one. This shit's going to take over the world, man.
I think it is.
I argue that this might be one of the most impressive things I've seen at an E3 event.
I love it.
Just behind the scenes, and in terms
like I said, I think this is going to win Game of the Year unless Grand Theft Auto gets in the way.
Of this generation, easily one of the most impressive looking games I've seen this generation. I was mind blown. The attention to detail and the world that they're making here didn't come across as sort of drab and just sand-like, where it's like, oh, there's just no detail. Like we saw in some of the parts of the trailer. No, this shit was ridiculously impressive.
God, I cannot wait.
Anyway, I don't think we got any B-roll, unfortunately, to show of this stuff. It's just like the previous trailers, as well as screenshots.
I wonder if there's some leaks somewhere. I'm not gonna watch them on this, but just curious.
One of my most anticipated games of 2025.
Maybe I will.
Take every opportunity I can to learn more about this because Monster Hunter Wilds seems to be it. It really is. This is the true sequel to Monster Hunter World. This is Capcom, no holds barred. That was their best-selling game of all time, and they're taking that shit seriously.
And as they should.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I'll be back with more updates with Monster Hunter Wilds as soon as possible, especially if I get to play it. As always, dudes, I appreciate a thumbs up if you get an opportunity to drop that in here or leave a comment if you're looking forward to this as much as me. My name is Max, and I'll see you dudes next time.
So Max, thank you for the pure entertainment. Thank you for this video. Thank you for going there and relaying all this stuff to us. I am super pumped for this game, man. And just watching him speak about this, it makes me even more excited for Monster Hunter Wilds to come out. Now, unfortunately, we have to wait until next year, but that's okay. It is what it is. That's totally fine. And holy crap. So guys, if you are not subbed to Max's channel, again, make sure you sub, make sure you watch this video, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. I will be linking this in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will catch you guys on the next one.